The massive, crystalline chamber stretched across 3 kilometers, its walls carved from living diamond that pulsed with soft rainbow light. The air itself seemed to shimmer as 47 different atmospheric mixtures blended together, each one carefully calibrated to keep the diverse alien species comfortable. Admiral Li Huiyanwu had never seen anything like it in his 30 years of military service. He stood in the designated observer section, cramped area barely large enough for a single human. The architects clearly hadn't expected many visitors. From primitive species, round him, the true members of the Galactic Council occupied vast spaces designed for their alien physiologies. The Vorthan delegation commanded the largest section, their towering forms reaching nearly 4 meters in height. Their crystalline exoskeletons caught the chamber's light and threw it back in brilliant patterns. Li had read that they controlled 17 star systems and considered themselves the galaxy's natural leaders. Across from them, the Gorthak empires, representatives sat in what looked like metallic thrones. Commander Thokron was the largest, his gray skin covered in ritual scars that told the story of 100 battles. His 4 eyes never stopped moving, constantly scanning for threats or opportunities. The Gorthok had been warriors for 10,000 years, and it showed in every gesture. The ethereal collective existed as beings of pure energy, their consciousness contained within specially designed environmental suits that glowed with soft blue light. They communicated through direct thought transmission, their words appearing as text on translation screens throughout the chamber. Li found their presence both fascinating and unsettling. "The session will now commence," announced Ambassador Vextel, his voice carrying easily through the chamber's advanced acoustic system. His scaled blue skin reflected the chamber's light as he moved, creating an almost hypnotic effect. "Today we address 43 trade disputes, 12 territorial boundary adjustments, and 1 petition for full membership status." The casual way he mentioned humanity's petition told Li everything he needed to know about their chances. This wasn't a serious consideration, it was entertainment. Petition 4471's that concerns the species self-designated as humans from the D star system they call Sol, Vextel continued, his tone suggesting mild amusement. They request full membership in the Galactic Council, with all associated rights and responsibilities. A sound rippled through the chamber that Li's translator interpreted as laughter. The Catherian delegation, jellyfish-like creatures floating in mobile aquatic tanks, pulsed with what their species used to express mirth. Even the plant-like Verdanis swayed their fronds in patterns that suggested amusement. Commander Thokron activated his personal display, holographic images appearing in the air before him. These creatures achieved faster-than-light travel 93 local years ago. My people were building interstellar empires when their world was still frozen solid. Indeed, agreed Counselor Verinash, her serpentine form coiling as she spoke. Their technological development is remarkably slow. They still use chemical rockets for local system transport. Their energy weapons are centuries behind our most basic designs. Ethereal Collective's representative pulsed brighter, text appearing on screens throughout the chamber. Analysis of human neural patterns indicates no psychic potential whatsoever. They cannot engage in mind-to-mind communication. How would they participate in council deliberations? Admiral Li kept his expression neutral, but internally he was taking notes. Every word spoken revealed crucial information about alien capabilities and prejudices. The humans had learned long ago that being underestimated was often an advantage. Their military assessment is particularly concerning, added General Krovash of the Zephyrian hegemony. Her avian features ruffled with what Li recognized as disdain. 47 active warships, 300 transport vessels, and approximately 12,000 military personnel. Single Vorthon battle group could conquer their entire civilization. The chamber erupted in what the translators interpreted as agreement. Species after species stood to voice their opinions on humanity's inadequacy. The mechanical collective, artificial intelligences housed in robotic bodies, calculated that human population growth was too slow to contribute meaningfully to galactic civilization. The photonic entities argued that creatures bound to solid matter were inherently limited in their potential. Through it all, Admiral Lee remained perfectly still. His aide, Captain Park Min-ho, shifted nervously beside him, clearly uncomfortable with the open mockery. The young officer had expected a formal hearing, not a comedy show at humanity's expense. Their lifespan is particularly troubling, noted the immortal caste representative, a being so ancient that their species' name had been forgotten. 70 to 80 local years at most. How can such ephemeral creatures contribute to projects that span millennia? The debate continued for over an hour, each species finding new reasons to dismiss humanity's application. They criticized human technology, questioned human intelligence, and mocked human physical limitations. Some delegates seemed to genuinely believe they were being helpful by pointing out humanity's shortcomings. Finally, Ambassador Vextel called for order. The Council will now vote on Petition 4471 Zeta, all in favor of granting full membership status to the human species. Silence. All opposed? Every delegation activated their voting systems simultaneously. The chamber's main display showed the results in stark numbers. 47 votes against, 0 in favor, 0 abstentions. The petition is denied, Vexed announced with finality. The human species is granted observer status within the Galactic Council. They may maintain diplomatic relations and limited trade agreements, but are restricted to their current territorial holdings. No expansion beyond their existing colonial claims will be permitted without Council approval. As the session moved on to other business, Admiral Lee began gathering his materials. The formal dismissal was exactly what he had expected, but the casual cruelty of it still stung. Humanity had spent 2 years preparing their application, detailing their achievements and potential contributions. The aliens had dismissed it all in less than 90 minutes. Captain Park approached him as the chamber began to empty. "Sir, should we request a formal review process? There are appeals procedures available?" Lee shook his head slowly, his expression thoughtful rather than defeated. "No, Captain. Accomplished exactly what we came here to do, sir. I don't understand." "Information gathering," Lee replied quietly. "We now know precisely how they see us, what they consider important, and what they think we're capable of. More importantly, we know what they think we're not capable of." As they walked toward the chamber's exit, Lee glanced back at the alien delegates. They were already discussing other matters, humanity's petition forgotten as quickly as it had been dismissed. Their casual dismissal would prove to be the biggest mistake in galactic history. "Prepare a priority transmission to Earth Command," Lee instructed as they reached their transport. "Operation Prometheus is authorized to proceed to Phase 2. "Captain." Park's eyes widened slightly. He knew enough about the classified operation to understand what that meant. "Sir, are you certain?" "Absolutely," Lee replied with a cold smile. "They've shown us exactly what they expect from humanity. Now we're going to show them what we're really capable of." The morning briefing at Earth Strategic Command had become Lieutenant Commander Kim Soo-jin's favorite part of the day. 6 months ago, these reports would have been routine intelligence gathering. Now they read like victory announcements, each one proving that humanity was far more capable than the Galactic Council had imagined. "Ma'am, we've got another interesting development in the Kepler system," reported Ensign Choi Dae-yoon, her young face bright with excitement. "The Vorthon Mining Consortium is 3 weeks behind schedule on their titanium extraction project." Kim pulled up the holographic display, showing 2 mining operations side by side on Kepler 4-4b. The Vorthon site sprawled across several square kilometers. Massive alien machinery slowly grinding through rock and ore. Their operation had been running for 15 months with minimal results. Right next to it, the human mining site looked almost primitive by comparison. Smaller machines, simpler structures, fewer personnel. But the numbers told a different story. "How much have we extracted in the same time frame?" Kim asked. 17 times their output, ma'am," Choi replied with barely contained glee. "And we finished our entire claim in 6 weeks." The secret lay in something the aliens couldn't see. 20 years ago, a damaged Vorthan mining ship had crashed in Earth's asteroid belt. The crew had been rescued, the ship officially listed as a total loss. What the aliens didn't know was that human engineers had spent 2 decades studying every component of that vessel. They'd discovered that Vorthan mining equipment was designed for durability, not efficiency. Built to last for centuries, but slow and energy-intensive. Human engineers had taken the basic principles and redesigned everything from scratch. The result was mining equipment that worked 10 times faster while using half the power. "What's the Vorthon reaction?" Kim asked. "Confused, ma'am?" "They've requested technical consultations twice this month. Each time our site supervisor tells them we're using standard Earth mining techniques." Kim smiled. Technical consultations were intelligence-gathering opportunities. Every time alien engineers visited human operations, they revealed more about their own limitations and assumptions. Meanwhile, 3 star systems away, Captain Yoon Jae-shung was conducting business aboard his merchant vessel, the Soul Pride. The ship looked like any other human cargo hauler from the outside: battered hull plating, outdated communication arrays, and engines that seemed to struggle with basic maneuvers. The Gorthok trading post commander, a massive warrior named Breakthul, towered over Yoon in the ship's cramped cargo bay. His gray skin was covered in ritual scars, and his 4 eyes constantly scanned for signs of weakness or deception. "These rare earth elements you're trading," Breako rumbled, his voice like grinding stone. "Where does your species acquire such high-quality materials?" "Hard work and good fortune, Commander," Yoon replied with practiced humility. "We make do with what we can find." Breakthul examined the cargo containers with professional interest. Each one contained materials that should have been impossible for humans to obtain. Refined tritium, quantum-stabilized metals, and energy crystals that required advanced processing techniques. What the Gorthok commander couldn't detect was that every container held materials created using hybrid technology. Human manufacturing, combined with alien processes that had been reverse-engineered from captured equipment and salvaged debris. The Soul Pride itself was a testament to this hidden capability. On the outside, it looked like a 70-year-old cargo hauler. Inside, it ran on a fusion reactor that operated at 93% efficiency, better than most military vessels in the Galactic Council. Its navigation systems could calculate hyperspace jumps with precision that alien computers couldn't match, and its cargo holds could transport twice the listed capacity thanks to spatial compression. Technology adapted from ethereal collective designs. "Your people are surprisingly efficient traders," Breakthul noted. "You transport goods through this sector faster than companies with much newer ships." "We've learned to be resourceful," Yoon said simply. The truth was that human ships had been quietly outperforming alien vessels for months. Better fuel efficiency, more accurate navigation, faster cargo handling. The aliens noticed the results, but couldn't understand how primitive human technology was achieving them. Back on the colony world of New Busan, Governor Lee Yoon-ha stood on the observation deck of the Central Habitat Dome, watching the city below bustle with activity. By all alien calculations, this world should have been uninhabitable. The atmosphere contained sulfur compounds that were toxic to most species. The gravity was 30% higher than Earth standard. Radiation from the system's binary stars should have made surface operations impossible. Yet 20,000 humans lived here comfortably, their cities growing larger every month. "Governor, the Ethereal Collective is requesting another data exchange," reported Dr. Park Geneseo, her aide and chief scientist. "They want detailed information about our atmospheric processing techniques." Lee watched children playing in the dome's central park, breathing air that had been toxic 6 months ago. "What did you tell them? That we're still in the experimental phase and don't want to share incomplete data," Park replied. "But they're getting more persistent. They know something unusual is happening here." Something unusual was a combination of technologies that should have been impossible for humans to develop. Atmospheric processors that could scrub toxins from the air while adding beneficial compounds. Radiation shields that didn't just block harmful energy, but converted it into usable power. Genetic modifications that allowed humans to thrive in conditions that would kill most alien species. Schedule another meeting, Lee decided. But keep giving them the same answers. We're learning, we're experimenting, we're making progress slowly. Each meeting was actually an intelligence-gathering operation. The more questions the aliens asked, the more they revealed about their own limitations and technological blind spots deep beneath the Korean peninsula. In a command bunker that officially didn't exist, Admiral Song Chung-min studied holographic displays that showed the true scope of humanity's preparations. The public records listed the human fleet as perhaps 200 vessels, mostly aging transports, and a few patrol craft, barely capable of system defense. The reality was staggering. Hidden throughout human space, concealed in asteroid fields, and powered down behind planetary bodies, nearly 3,000 ships waited for orders. Each vessel incorporated the best of human engineering, enhanced with alien technology that had been captured, studied, and improved upon over decades of secret research. Admiral, we're receiving reports from all sectors, Colonel Han Myung announced, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. Operation Prometheus assets are in position and ready for activation. Song nodded, studying the tactical displays. Red markers showed official human positions, the ships and stations that alien intelligence services knew about. Blue markers showed the hidden assets, the true strength of humanity's military forces. Any change in alien surveillance patterns? He asked. Negative, sir. They still consider us a minor threat at best. Most council species have reduced their monitoring of human activities. Perfect. Song smiled coldly. The more they underestimate us, the greater our advantage becomes. The command center around them hummed with quiet activity. Hundreds of personnel coordinated intelligence operations, monitored alien communications, and maintained contact with hidden human assets throughout the galaxy. This facility alone represented technology that would have shocked the Galactic Council, quantum computers that could break alien encryption, sensors that could detect ships from dozens of light years away, and communication systems that operated faster than anything in Council databases. Colonel, what's the status of our special projects? Han pulled up classified files that even most of the command staff couldn't access. Project Phoenix is ahead of schedule. The new dreadnoughts will be ready for deployment within 2 months. Project Titan has successfully tested the enhanced plasma weapons systems. And Project Oracle has achieved full integration between human psychics and our tactical networks. Each project represented capabilities that the aliens couldn't imagine humans possessing. Weapons that could punch through any known defense system. Ships that could outmaneuver anything in Council fleets. And most importantly, soldiers and officers who had been training for this moment their entire careers. Sir Han continued, the fleet commanders are eager to begin active operations. How much longer do we wait? Song studied the displays for a long moment. Every day brought new reports of human successes and alien confusion, mining operations that worked too efficiently, trade ships that moved too quickly, colonies that thrived where they should have failed. The aliens were starting to notice that something didn't add up. Soon, Colonel, he replied. Let them discover a few more of our capabilities first. The more confused and curious they become, the less prepared they'll be when we show them what humans can really do. The emergency alarm screaming through the Galactic Council chambers had never sounded before in the organization's 3,000-year history. Ambassador Vextel's scaled hands shook as he read the reports flooding in from the outer systems. The words seemed impossible, yet the evidence was undeniable. The Krillian Horde had returned. For over 2 millennia. The Horde had been nothing more than terrifying legends shared in dark corners of space stations. Ancient stories told of living ships that consumed entire worlds, of creatures that turned planets into nurseries for more bioweapons. Most species had begun to believe the Krillians were myths. Boogeyman stories used to frighten young aliens into good behavior. The reality was far worse than any legend. Kepler Prime is gone, General Krothak announced, his voice cracking with disbelief. The Vorthon military commander had seen battles across 17 systems, But nothing had prepared him for this. Complete consumption in 37 hours. Population of 4 billion... gone. The tactical display showed what remained of the Kepler system. Where once a thriving world had orbited a stable star, now only a barren rock remained. The Krillian bioships had stripped away the atmosphere, consumed the oceans, and processed every living thing into fuel for their continued expansion. "How is this possible?" whispered Counselor Verinosh, her serpentine form coiled tight with fear. "Our defensive systems, our early warning networks." "Useless," General Krothak replied grimly. "The bioships don't register on standard sensors until they're already feeding. They appear to be nothing more than space debris until they activate." The Krillian vessels were unlike anything in the known galaxy. Each bioship was a living creature the size of a city, bred for war and consumption. Their hulls were organic armor that could adapt to different weapons in real time. Their weapons were streams of living acid that ate through metal and energy shields alike. And worst of all, they reproduced by consuming worlds, turning entire planets into breeding grounds for more horrors. "Status report from Tau Ceti," another aide announced, his voice barely audible. "The system is under attack. 17 bioships confirmed. The defense fleet is there, requesting immediate evacuation support." Vextel closed his eyes. Ceti housed 12 billion souls across 7 worlds. If the Horde was already there, those people had perhaps hours to live. "How many systems are under attack?" he asked. "Confirmed attacks in 7 systems, sir. Suspected Horde presence in 12. More. They're moving toward the core worlds." The mathematics were terrifying. At their current rate of advance, the Krillians would reach the heart of Council space within days. And every world they consumed made them stronger, producing more bioships for their endless hunger. 3,000 light-years away, Admiral Song Changman watched the same tactical data through humanity's intercepted communications network. The command center beneath the Korean peninsula buzzed with activity as human analysts processed the incoming information. "Sir, Council fleet deployments are in complete disarray," reported Captain Nam Ruhyug. "They've lost 3 major engagements in the past 18 hours. Their ships can't effectively target the biovessels." Song studied the battle recordings with professional interest. Council ships fired energy weapons that the Krillian bioarmor simply absorbed and converted into food. Their missiles were intercepted by streams of living acid that destroyed everything they touched. Most devastating of all, the bioships fought with perfect coordination, as if controlled by a single mind. "What about their psychic warfare capabilities?" Song asked. The ethereal collective attempted mind-to-mind contact. Colonel Han Myung reported 3 of their representatives are now in medical stasis. They described the Krillian consciousness as an infinite hunger that devours thought itself. The implications were staggering. The Council's most powerful psychic species had been overwhelmed by simple contact with the Horde's collective mind. Traditional alien warfare tactics were proving completely useless. "Sir, incoming priority transmission from the Galactic Council," Nam announced. "It's Ambassador Vexel himself." Song almost smiled. 6 months ago, the Council had dismissed humanity as too primitive to deserve membership. Now they were calling for help from the same species they'd mocked. "Put him through." Vextel's image appeared on the main screen, and Song was struck by how much the alien had changed. The confident, condescending ambassador was gone, replaced by a desperate creature whose scales had dulled with stress and fear. "Admiral Song, the Council recognizes that current circumstances require unprecedented cooperation. We formally request any assistance humanity can provide against the Krillian threat." Song kept his expression neutral, though internally he was satisfied. "Ambassador, I'll need complete tactical data on Krillian capabilities, fleet compositions, and attack patterns. I'll also need unrestricted access to Council communication networks." "Granted immediately," Vextel replied without hesitation. "How quickly can your forces respond?" Song glanced at Colonel Han, who gave him a subtle nod. Phase 3 of Operation Prometheus had been ready for weeks. "We can have ships in position within 6 hours." Vextel's eyes widened in obvious confusion. 6 hours? But your nearest reported vessels are 3 days away at best, or closer than you think, Ambassador, Song replied calmly. As the transmission ended, Song turned to his command staff. The moment they had been preparing for had finally arrived. Signal all fleets. Operation Prometheus is now active. Authorization code, Thunder Dragon. Cross-human space. The greatest deception in galactic history began to unfold. Ships that had been hiding in asteroid fields for months suddenly powered up their drives. Vessels disguised as mining equipment revealed their true nature as military craft. And in the deepest space, where no alien sensors had ever reached, humanity's secret fleet prepared to emerge from the shadows. Admiral B. Kai-jin stood on the bridge of the New Sol, her flagship that had been hiding behind a gas giant for 8 months while conducting routine scientific observations. In reality, the New Sol was a 700-meter dreadnought, incorporating technology that would have shocked the Galactic Council. All systems show green, Admiral, reported her tactical officer, Commander Lee Dong-wook. The fleet is ready for hyperspace transition. Around the New Sol, 47 other ships waited in perfect formation. 2 alien sensors, they would appear to be merchant vessels and exploration craft. The truth was far different. Each ship had been designed specifically to fight the kind of enemy that traditional alien warfare couldn't handle. Captain Oh Sung-ho commanded the strike cruiser Daegu Lightning, equipped with experimental weapons that combined human kinetic systems with reverse-engineered alien technology. His crew had trained for over a year using captured Krillian biosamples, learning to fight an enemy that most of the galaxy considered mythical. Captain, we're receiving final targeting data from Strategic Command, reported his weapons officer. Lieutenant Park Soo-young. Krillian bioship vulnerabilities confirmed, Oh smiled grimly. While the Council species had been content to treat the Krillians as ancient legends, human scientists had been studying every scrap of available data for decades. They had identified weaknesses that alien researchers had never discovered, developed weapons specifically designed to exploit those weaknesses, and trained crews to fight in ways that would surprise both allies and enemies. Throughout the Outer Rim, vessels that Council intelligence had dismissed as civilian craft began revealing their true nature. The cargo hauler, Busan Merchant, extended weapon arrays from hidden compartments. The mining ship Ancient Worker deployed sensor arrays more advanced than anything in the Council's inventory. And the research vessel Soul Explorer activated a cloaking system that made it invisible to every known detection method. When Admiral Beek's task force arrived at Proxima Nexus, where the Council's defensive line was making its desperate last stand, the alien commanders couldn't believe their instruments. Over 400 human vessels materialized from hyperspace in perfect formation, their approach vectors calculated with precision that suggested advanced tactical computers. This is Admiral B. Kai-jin of the Earth Defense Fleet, came the transmission to the battered Council forces. We're here to help. All Council vessels, fall back to support positions. Will take point. General Krothak, commanding the Council's remaining forces from his heavily damaged flagship, stared at his tactical display in disbelief. The human fleet showed energy signatures that didn't match any known technology, their formation suggested. Coordination capabilities that should have been impossible without psychic links. And their confident advance toward the Krillian bioships indicated either remarkable courage or complete insanity. Human fleet, this is General Krothak, he transmitted. The Krillian vessels are unlike anything you've encountered. Their bioarmor adapts to energy weapons, and their acid streams can dissolve any known material. Understood, General Admiral Beek replied calmly. We've prepared for that. As the human fleet moved into attack formation, alien observers throughout the system watched in fascination and horror. The species they had dismissed as primitive was about to face the galaxy's greatest nightmare. Most expected to witness humanity's destruction. Instead, they were about to see something that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The space around. Proxima Nexus had become a graveyard. Twisted wreckage from Council ships drifted through the void, their hulls melted by Krillian acid weapons. The surviving alien vessels huddled behind the system's largest moon, their crews traumatized by 3 straight defeats against an enemy they couldn't understand or fight. Admiral B. Kai-jin stood on the bridge of the New Sol, watching the tactical display as massive bioships approached her fleet. Each Krillian vessel was a nightmare made real. Living creatures the size of skyscrapers, their organic hulls pulsing with veins that carried acid instead of blood. Weapon ports that looked like gaping mouths opened and closed along their sides, ready to spit streams of living death. Distance to target: 400,000 kilometers in closing, reported Commander Lee Dong-wook from the tactical station. Krillian formation shows typical hive mind patterns. They're moving like a single organism. That was exactly what Beak had expected. For 2,000 years, the Krillian horde had been unbeatable because they fought as one mind distributed across hundreds of bodies. Every ship knew what every other ship was thinking. They couldn't be surprised, outflanked, or confused because they shared perfect awareness. Dr. Shin, status of the psychic network, Beak asked. Dr. Shin the Jin sat in a specially designed chair surrounded by glowing neural interfaces. Cables connected her head. 2 quantum communication systems that linked her mind to 17 other enhanced humans scattered throughout the fleet. Her eyes were closed, but her brain was more active than it had ever been. Network integration at 94%, she reported, her voice strangely distant. I can feel all of them. We're ready to begin interference operations. Secret that humanity had kept hidden for decades was about to be revealed. While alien species had developed natural telepathy over millions of years, humans had built something better through technology and determination. Individual human psychics were weak compared to aliens like the ethereal collective. But humans had learned to link their minds through quantum networks, creating a collective consciousness that could match or exceed any natural ability. All ships implement Pattern Delta 7, Admiral Beak commanded. Psychic warfare units, prepare for network integration. Throughout the human fleet, similar scenes played out on 47 vessels. Enhanced humans connected their minds to the growing network, their individual thoughts merging into something greater than the sum of its parts. Captain Oh Sung-ho felt the change as Dr. Park Min-young linked into the system aboard the Daegu Lightning. Suddenly, he could sense the positions and intentions of every other ship in the fleet. This is incredible, whispered Lieutenant Commander Yoon Jae-ho from the weapons station. I can feel the entire battle in my mind. The Krillian bioships continued their approach, confident in their usual tactics. They had faced thousands of alien fleets over the centuries, and the pattern was always the same. Enemy ships would fire their weapons, watch helplessly as organic armor adapted to their attacks, then die as acid streams dissolved their hulls. Initiate psychic jamming, Admiral Beak ordered. Dr. Shin's eyes snapped open, glowing with an eerie blue light as the human psychic network focused its power across the fleet. 17 other enhanced humans did the same, their minds working in perfect harmony to create something the galaxy had never seen before. The effect on the Krillian hive mind was immediate and devastating. For the first time in their species' history, the bioships found themselves alone in their own minds. The constant awareness of their fellow creatures was replaced by chaotic static that made coordination impossible. The lead bioship, a massive creature that had consumed 3 worlds in the past month, suddenly veered off course as its connection to the hive was severed. Its weapon ports opened and closed randomly, firing streams of acid into empty space. Around it, other bioships began displaying similar confusion. My God, whispered General Krothok from his damaged flagship. They're actually jamming the hive mind. How is that possible? Captain Park Tae-hyun didn't waste time wondering about possibilities. His destroyer, the Busan Striker, was already moving to attack position. All weapons, target the lead bioship. Fire. The Busan Striker's main guns spoke with thunderous authority. But these weren't the primitive kinetic weapons that Council intelligence had documented. Human engineers had spent decades studying alien weapons technology and improving upon it in ways that alien minds couldn't imagine. The tungsten projectiles that slammed into the bioships hull were accelerated by magnetic fields that generated forces approaching the speed of light. They were guided by AI targeting systems that could track and predict movement patterns in real time. And they were designed specifically to exploit weaknesses in organic armor that human scientists had identified through careful study of captured Krillian samples. The massive bioship's hull erupted in fountains of greenish fluid as the kinetic rounds punched through armor that had shrugged off alien energy weapons for millennia. The creature's death scream was transmitted through subspace, frequencies that made every human in the fleet feel momentarily nauseous. But the real surprise came when Captain Kim Jin-woo's ship, the Hammer, deployed its experimental plasma weapons. The aliens watching from their hiding places behind the moon couldn't believe what they were seeing. "Those are bioplasma weapons," reported General Crothax, sensor officer. "But they're more advanced than anything the Krillians use." The truth was both simple and shocking. 25 years ago, human scientists had recovered samples of Krillian bioplasma from a derelict ship found drifting in the outer system. Instead of trying to copy the technology directly, they had studied its principles and rebuilt it from the ground up, using human engineering and manufacturing techniques. The result was bioplasma that could adapt and evolve like living organisms. But guided by human targeting computers with reaction times measured in microseconds, the Krillian bioships, whose armor had evolved to resist conventional plasma weapons, found themselves helpless against weapons that learned and adapted faster than they could respond. Green fire erupted across the bioship formations as human plasma weapons found their targets. Each hit learned from the previous one, adapting to overcome whatever defenses the organic armor tried to deploy. Within minutes, creatures that had terrorized the galaxy for 2,000 years were being systematically destroyed by weapons they couldn't understand or counter. "Second wave incoming," reported Lieutenant Commander SCO Minjae from the sensor station. 57 bioships. Heavy assault configuration. Admiral Beak nodded calmly. The second phase of the battle was about to begin. She was eager to demonstrate another human capability that would shock the watching aliens. "All ships, implement formation Charlenen," she commanded. "Show them what human coordination really looks like." What happened next defied everything the Council species thought they knew about space warfare. The human fleet moved with precision that seemed impossible without telepathic coordination. Every ship knew its exact position relative to every other vessel. Every captain understood their role in the larger battle plan. Every crew member acted as part of a single, unified fighting force. But this wasn't telepathy. It was something better. Human technology had created perfect coordination through quantum communication networks that allowed instantaneous data sharing across the entire fleet, combined with neural implants that enhanced human reaction times and combat stimulants that pushed human reflexes to superhuman levels. The result was a fighting force that moved like a single organism while maintaining individual creativity. And Initiative Commander Lee So-young watched the massive bioships approaching and felt her fighter squadron's excitement through the tactical network. Her 30 fighters looked tiny compared to the approaching monsters, but she knew appearances could be deceiving. "Sol Aero Squadron, this is Commander Lee," she transmitted. "Target their neural clusters. Hit them where it hurts." The human fighters accelerated toward the bioships like arrows shot from a bow. These weren't the primitive atmospheric craft that Council intelligence had observed during ceremonial displays. They were space superiority fighters, equipped with miniaturized fusion drives that could outmaneuver anything in known space, and weapons that could damage capital ships, despite their small size. As the fighters swarmed around bioships 10 times, their size, human weapons, found targets that alien sensors couldn't even detect. Neural clusters buried deep within organic hulls, command centers protected by layers of adaptive armor, critical systems that kept the massive creatures alive and fighting. It was like performing surgery with explosives, requiring perfect coordination and split-second timing. But human pilots, enhanced by neural implants and guided by AI targeting systems, made it look easy. The third Krillian wave never arrived. As human psychics maintained their jamming of the hive mind and human weapons, systematically destroyed bioship after bioship, the horde's advance ground to a halt. For the first time in their species' existence, Krillian vessels began retreating. "Impossible," whispered General Crothax from his command ship. "They're actually defeating the horde." The battle ended 12 hours later with complete human victory. Over 200 Krillian bioships destroyed, their advance broken, their survivors fleeing toward the galactic rim. Human casualties: 37 wounded. 0 dead. As news of the victory spread throughout Council space, every species that had dismissed humanity as primitive now faced an uncomfortable truth. Creatures they had mocked as weak and backward had just accomplished something that the combined might of the Galactic Council had never achieved. The humans hadn't just defeated the Krillian horde, they had made it look easy. The crystalline chamber that had once echoed with alien laughter at humanity's expense now trembled with nervous energy. Victory at Proxima Nexus, and every species in the Galactic Council was struggling to understand what they had witnessed. That adapted faster than Krillian bioarmor. And psychic jamming that had broken a hive mind considered, unbreakable Ambassador Vexthal's blue scales had lost their lustrous shine, dulled by stress and sleepless nights, spent reviewing battle reports. His hand shook slightly as he called the emergency session to order. The same podium where he had dismissed humanity's membership application now felt like a judgment seat. "We gather to address the recent developments regarding the human species," he announced, his voice lacking its usual authority. The chamber doors opened, and Admiral Song Chengmin entered with the confident stride of a conqueror. But this time, he didn't stop at the observer section. He walked directly down the central aisle toward the speaker's podium. His polished dress uniform bearing medals and decorations that no alien present could identify, earned in conflicts the Council knew nothing about. Behind him walked Captain Nam Ruhak, his young face bearing the calm expression of someone who had seen the enemy flee in terror. Dr. Sheen Dehain followed, her presence somehow more unsettling than the armed officers. The aliens who had dismissed human lack of psychic abilities now knew better. This woman had helped jam a hive mind that had conquered half the galaxy. "Members of the Council," Admiral Song began, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber without need for amplification. "I come before you not as a petitioner seeking your approval, but as a representative of humanity's interests in this galaxy." The subtle shift in language sent ripples of unease through the assembled aliens. 6 months ago, humanity had begged for membership. Now they were dictating terms. General Krothak shifted in his hover seat, his 4 eyes darting between the human delegation and the tactical displays still showing the aftermath of the Krillian defeat. "Admiral Song, the Council acknowledges that human assistance proved valuable in the recent crisis. However, we must discuss the implications of your fleet deployments, and however—" "Nothing," Song interrupted, his tone sharp enough to cut through the General's diplomatic hedging. "Let me clarify the current situation for those who may still be confused about humanity's capabilities." He gestured, and Captain Nam activated a holographic projector that filled the chamber with 3-dimensional, tactical displays. The aliens gasped as the true scope of human activities became clear. "The fleet you witnessed at Proxima Nexus represents approximately 15% of humanity's total military capacity," Song announced calmly. The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. Commander Thokron of the Gorthok Empire leaned forward, his massive frame tense with disbelief. "Impossible. Our intelligence networks would have detected such a buildup." "Your intelligence networks detected exactly what we wanted them to detect," Dr. Shin interjected, her voice carrying an edge of amusement. "For the past 18 months, humanity has been conducting comprehensive surveillance of Council activities. We know your fleet strengths, your economic vulnerabilities, your political divisions, and your military doctrines." The holographic display shifted, showing human vessels positioned throughout Council space. Red markers indicated known human positions, the ships and stations that alien intelligence services had cataloged. Blue markers showed the hidden assets, and there were thousands of them. "Systems throughout Council space," Song continued. "We maintain defensive installations in 12 sectors you consider absolutely secure, and we have formed mutual defense pacts with 19 species that your Council has classified as primitive or developing." Counselor Varana's serpentine form coiled tighter as the implications hit her. "You're describing a military occupation of Council territory." "I'm describing mutual cooperation," Song replied smoothly. "The same cooperation you denied us when we requested membership through proper diplomatic channels." Captain Nam stepped Forward, consulting a datapad with the calm efficiency of a bureaucrat processing routine paperwork. Humanity presents the following terms for our continued participation in galactic affairs. First, full council membership with voting rights, equal to any founding species. Second, recognition of human territorial claims in all systems where we currently maintain a presence. Third, reparations totaling 2.7 billion standard credits for resources expended defending. Council worlds from the Krillian Horde, the Chamber, exploded in outraged protests. Delegates rose from their seats, appendages waving in species-specific gestures of anger and disbelief. The ethereal collective's representative pulsed with indignant light, while the mechanical collective's units emitted grinding sounds that their translators rendered as expressions of computational fury. Song raised his hand, and the protests died as if cut off by a switch. The casual display of authority was more intimidating than any weapon. These terms are non-negotiable, he stated flatly. Mutual defense agreements and the recall of our fleets from council space. Ambassador Vexel found his voice, though it cracked with strain. Admiral, surely you wouldn't abandon the galaxy to the Krillian threat. They could return at any time. Dr. Shin smiled, and the expression was somehow more unsettling than any threat. The Krillian horde has been permanently neutralized. While you were debating and panicking, human deep space forces located and destroyed their breeding worlds in the galactic void. The survivors are fleeing toward the outer galaxy and will not return. The silence that followed was absolute. Every species in the chamber realized simultaneously that, while they had been focused on the immediate crisis, humanity had been thinking strategically on a galactic scale. The threat that had terrorized civilizations for millennia had been eliminated. While they weren't even watching, you eliminated the entire horde, whispered Counselor Verinosh, her voice barely audible. The Krillian species still exists, Song clarified with the tone of someone correcting a minor misunderstanding. But their military capacity has been reduced to isolated raider groups that pose no significant threat to established civilizations. Their expansion has ended permanently. The tactical display shifted again, showing the outer rim of the galaxy where scattered Krillian survivors fled toward empty space. Human pursuit vessels followed at a distance, ensuring the monsters would never return to terrorize inhabited worlds. Captain Nam consulted his datapad with bureaucratic precision. The Council has 72 hours to respond to our terms. After that period, humanity will consider all current agreements void and will act according to our own interests. As the human delegation prepared to leave, Admiral Song paused at the chamber entrance. The casual gesture somehow made his final words more impactful than any dramatic speech. Oh, and members of the Council. The 19 species we've allied with represent a combined population of over 40 billion individuals. They'll be submitting their own membership applications shortly. His smile was polite and absolutely terrifying. I suggest you consider those applications more carefully than you did ours. The humans departed, leaving behind a chamber full of aliens who were finally beginning to understand the magnitude of their miscalculation. The species they had dismissed as primitive hadn't just equaled their achievements, they had surpassed them so completely that the comparison was almost insulting. For 71 hours, the Galactic Council debated in emergency session. Some species argued for resistance, others for negotiation. But the mathematics were inescapable. Humanity had demonstrated capabilities that made opposition futile and alliance necessary. When the vote came, it was unanimous. Supremacy was over. The age of human expansion had begun, and across the galaxy, 19 species that had been dismissed as primitive prepared to follow humanity's example, their own hidden fleets powering up for the first time in decades. The end.